In this first social science thinking unit, we're going to talk a little bit about the discipline of geography and how the discipline of geography is related to the sciences and the social sciences in general. This lays some of the groundwork for this course, which is of course a GER course that has a social science emphasis in it. So let's first just talk a little bit about geography. Geography's perception by the general public is a little bit different from how professionals view it. I think when most people in the public think about geography, they think about geography as being where places are. And certainly that's some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. We're going to be doing some basic geographic description in this course, and as you've seen already, the first module material really spent a lot of time focusing on that. But there are many other things that geography is interested in as well. Geography can be a little bit of a difficult discipline to define, and that's because it's very interdisciplinary in nature. It's a little bit more like anthropology. It looks both at physical and at human aspects of the world, and tries to do a bunch of different things at the same time. As a result of this, geographers tend to define the discipline not based on one particular definition, but instead talking about a series of themes that geographers look at. Those themes are generally identified as being location, place, region, spatial patterns, and the human-environment relationship. Let me talk about each of these very briefly. We've already done a number of these in this course already. Location is the first one. Location refers to, of course, where places are, but geographers see themselves not only as people who talk about where places are, but also how can we make the best locational decisions for placing things. The theme of place is again something we've talked about. We've looked at some local places in this course, and we've talked about how individual locations are much more than just where they are on the map. They have to do with basic geography and how basic geography impacts those areas, but they also have to do with culture and with human decisions about what those places are going to look like and how they're going to feel. And we'll be talking about some of these things over the course of the semester. The theme of region, again, something that we've talked about in this course already, is a theme that geographers argue tie together broad parts of the discipline. Geographers are interested not just in location and places, but how those locations and places are often similar across broad geographic areas or regions. And so this whole course is structured by regions, and through that theme of region and how it relates to a wide variety of things. The theme of spatial patterns isn't something we've talked about yet, but it's something we'll be talking about over the course of the semester as we take a look at spatial data, data about different countries in the world, and we look at some maps as well. Geographers believe that one of their expertises is in the ability to look at spatial data and understand it and interpret it. And then the final theme, again something we've talked about in this course, is the relationship between humans and the environment, which of course is not something that is important just to geographers. It's also important to other disciplines as well. But in geography, it plays a particularly prominent role because geographers ultimately are interested in understanding how have humans shaped the environment and how has the environment helped to shape and present possibilities for humans. In addition to themes tying geography together, there are certain geographic tools that also tie geography together, and these are things that we will definitely be using over the course of this semester. The basic tools include maps, and then the interpretation of those maps, again something we've already been doing in this course. We haven't looked at spatial data yet, although that is coming soon, and that is something that will again tie together large portions of the course. And as we're going to talk about right now, using the scientific method is a tool of geography, just as it's a tool of all of the sciences and all of the social sciences. So ultimately, what geography is really an application of these themes and these tools to understand the world around us. In the case of this course, it's understanding these global issues that we'll be talking about over the course of this semester. But it could be any number of things that are intriguing to geographers. Now, geography is a science, of course. Geographers are scientists who study both the social and the natural world. So to some extent, we come from both sides of the natural science and social science world and try to integrate those together. Although we'll certainly be focused in this course on the social side of things, because that is what this course is designed to do. What is science? Well, science, as I'll talk about in just a second, is the systematic observation of the world to find answers and to build theories and to solve problems. And over the course of this semester, we'll be looking at those observations and those theories, trying to solve problems that are of particular interest to geographers. And this is, of course, the nature of social science thinking. Social scientists want to understand society and its institutions, its people, and their behavior, and then try to understand at a deeper level why the world works the way that it does through systematically observing, answering questions, building theories, and finding solutions. Sciences are distinct from other forms of knowledge, particularly in the fact that everything in science is based upon those basic observations. This is something we're going to explore more over the course of the semester through these social science thinking units. And it's something ultimately we'll come not only to understand and appreciate, hopefully, but also be able to critique somewhat as well. Now, this course, of course, is a social science general ed course. That's the whole purpose behind this course and why many of you are taking it. It's to expose you to the social science and the global issues and to get you to think about how social scientists look at the world systematically, how they understand the world. And so this is a necessary part of the course and something that we'll come back to every single module. We'll be not only talking about key topics, we'll not only be looking at regions, but we'll also be looking at how do social scientists look at the world and try to solve the world's problems. Now, this course fits into the GERs, and I'm not going to belabor this mini lecture with a long discussion of what the GERs are and how important they are to the world, although I'd be happy to discuss this with people further. I do think it's worthwhile pointing out, though, that the GERs, the whole purpose behind them is to give people a broad liberal education. And by liberal here, I'm not referring to liberal versus conservative. By liberal, I'm referring to this idea that in a democracy, we need people who are free to think about the world and who are able to think about the world in a number of different ways. Because when we ultimately come up with public policy and when we're electing politicians, politicians are going to be making decisions about things like social sciences and natural sciences, and we have to have a basic understanding of that ourselves if we're to be effective citizens. At least that's the basic argument. And so this is important, I think, in geography and other social science classes because, one of the things that geographers and other social scientists want to do is to demonstrate that the work that they do, which is based on science, can help to inform public policy and can ultimately be linked to the way that we run our society. And so, again, it's important for citizens, according to the notion of the general education requirements, to have some basic knowledge about the social sciences. Ultimately, this course is going to not only talk about science in this sort of abstract way, but also propose along the entire course different types of solutions. And the reason why I've embedded solutions into a course like this is because it's really focused on fairly grave global problems. And it's important, I think, when we're talking about all these various problems, to also talk a little bit about solutions to them so that we can see that science isn't there just to point out what's wrong with society, but also with ways that we can ultimately improve our society as well. And I'll talk more about over the course of the semester, but it is, I believe, an important part of what a course like this should be doing. So this is just a broad introduction to the discipline of geography, and also an introduction to how geography fits into the social sciences and how hopefully the social sciences fit in at least a little bit into your education.